Well, the Northern Lights have been dazzling parts of the world this week where they're usually not visible, and that's because of an intense solar storm. The spectacle illuminated the Matterhorn in the Italian Alps, shimmered above Northern Ireland and reached as far south as Andalusia in Spain. Beyond Europe, auroras also lit up the skies over Australia and the United States. And to talk more on this rare phenomenon, we can speak to Matthew Capucci, a senior meteorologist at MyRadar. Welcome back to DW, Matthew. Luckily for us, you're someone very passionate about weather and weather extremes. So I'm just wondering what your reaction was to seeing these northern lights so far south.
You know, I love it because there are very few things in the atmosphere that are both beautiful and harmless. So often when I'm seeing stuff, it's like a tornado, a hurricane, or whatever else, and it's high impact. But with the Northern Lights, people can just get out and enjoy it, and I love that. Now, unfortunately for me, we've had 3 really big Northern Lights displays over the past 18 months. For this past one, I was in Mexico yesterday, so I missed it. Prior to that, I was in Florida for Hurricane Milton back in October of last year. And then before that, the biggie last May, I was in far South Texas having lost my windshield in softball grapefruit-sized hail. And so even though I've missed out, I'm glad that most of the world has gotten to see it.
Can you explain to us what causes these auroras?
Yeah, so it's the effect of energy from the sun bombarding Earth's magnetic field. We have this shield of magnetism around us that takes this potentially harmful energy of the sun and converts it into harmless light, i.e. the aurora. And when you have a big burst of solar energy, we call that a coronal mass ejection, it's hurtled through space. It might take a day, 2 days, sometimes more to reach us. But if it does hit us, we see that conversion of the energy. Now, we get the Northern Lights more frequently every 11 years or so at the peak of what we call the solar cycle. The solar cycle dictates how many sunspots are on the sun. Sunspots are like bruise-like discolorations that throb and pulsate with that magnetic energy. And those are the things that throw the magnetism into space and those high-energy particles. And so right now we're kind of at the peak of a solar cycle. Prior to that, we had one back in 2014, and before that, a peak around like 2001, 2002.
Okay. Now, as I understand, these particular auroras impacted communications and even prevented the launch of a rocket. Do they signal any kind of underlying risks for technology and infrastructure at all?
Potentially, yeah. So back in 1989, for example, there was electrical infrastructure that was damaged up in Canada and led to a weeks-long blackout in parts of the country from a really high-end solar storm. Last year, we actually had, this is kind of cool, we had the farming equipment that's used to sort of plant seeds that got a little jostled by only a couple centimeters back and forth. But if you go to parts of Iowa right now, there are crop lines that are a little bit like wonky because of that, which is really cool. But ultimately, for most folks, they wouldn't notice anything. The GPS issues are usually pretty fleeting. The only real impact is that polar flights that go, over the North Pole or the South Pole will have to either come down a little bit in terms of altitude or be rerouted a little bit to avoid potentially harmful radiation.
That's Matthew Capucci, a senior meteorologist at MyRadar. Thanks so much for breaking that down for us, Matthew.
Thank you.